Hi, my name's Brad, and this is my video on how to make shoes. It's kind of going to be poorly put together. I guess you could say it's cobbled together. But yeah, I told some people I would make a video after I made a couple pairs of shoes, and so this is my third pair of shoes. My first attempt at doing a stitch down pair of boots. First attempt at doing boots in general, and first attempt at doing something that has a proper upper. All my previous shoes had like slipper style uppers where it was just a hole cut, no real stitching other than stitching the lining. They turned out alright. They're hand welted. This is going to be a stitch down, which is a different style. I'll explain more when I get to that spot. But first video, these are the lasts. I bought them off eBay. These are 11 and a half. I wear usually like 11 and a half. If you're buying lasts in general, you might want to err on the side of slightly bigger because you can always sand them down in the front and get that smaller and work them to the size of your feet later, but you can't really, you can make them bigger, but it's harder. But yeah, gonna try with these. Tried to get the first pair of shoes I had a big boxy toe. This one has a more sleek toe. Has the metal heel plates, which we'll get to later. Just because when we start pegging in the heel, it's gonna be important that the pegs smash against that rather than go through into the insole, into the last itself. And they have a joint in the middle, so you can bend them when you're taking them out of the shoe, but currently the joint doesn't really work because they're old as fuck. Yeah, there's probably be some cussing in this video because I'm probably gonna stab myself with an awl. And if you're old enough to be watching, if you're old enough to be handling razor sharp knives and trying to make shoes, then you're probably old enough to hear an F-bomb or two. But first up, we gotta make a pattern. And there's the way I learned to do it just off watching YouTube videos and reading different things was you do it with tape. And hopefully I'll get a better camera angle once I get a better tripod that's coming in from Amazon soon. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your masking tape. We only need one of these lasts. I'm just showing you because I have a pair. For this process, we only need one. But you're gonna take the masking tape, and you should probably buy masking tape a lot thinner than this, but I'm being lazy about going to get new masking tape. This is what I have. It should be about probably half the size. You want to roll about half the size, just so it's gonna lay down flatter on the shoe when you tape the shoe up. But you're gonna go, just take the tape and we're gonna create a layer of tape as neatly as you can across this whole shoe. And hopefully get it about 3 layers deep without getting too wrinkly. Just piece by piece. I'm probably gonna get it wrinkly because I can never seem to do it as well as people do on the internet. I think it's because I have the thick tape. It doesn't adjust as well to the contours as they change. But you get the idea. We're just gonna tape this whole shoe up until it's fairly deeply covered and hopefully smooth enough to draw on. Because what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be drawing on the pattern over the tape and then cutting the tape away from the last so that we can then use that pattern to make a pattern from our leather. And we only need to do this with one shoe because the other shoe is pretty much just the inverse of this shoe. So you don't need separate patterns, you just flip the patterns over. But what I actually learned recently, hopefully from a reliable source, is that shoe uppers are actually pretty symmetrical. So that once you get one pattern, you can just cut you know, two shoes that look exactly the same. You make the upper the same, and you of course want to do the side that has more material on it, but you cut it down the center and make a symmetrical pattern, and you can use the same pattern covering both shoes. And when you start to pull it tight over the last being the name for the shoe mold, it kind of evens out the excess that you're going to end up with, and you can trim that off later, because really all the edges are going to be pulled down underneath here, and you're not going to see them in the finished shoe, and they're going to end up getting trimmed off. But yeah, for now it's just the boring process of adding tape to this shoe. But yeah, there's a lot of good videos online about making shoes. I mean, when I started, I was just Googling how to make a shoe, and you know, it's a lot of steps, but no single step is all that difficult. I say that having not actually made a proper upper yet, so what do I know? Also, I'm gonna try to make a boot, and you can tell that this last doesn't have like the throat of the boot up here, so I have to kind of fudge that based on some approximations and comparisons with a pair of boots that I have. Do some measurements on that. Some people will build up their last so that they can last a boot, or you can get actual boot lasts, but I didn't see any of those on eBay when I was browsing around. And just so I can keep track of how much things are costing as we go forward. This pair of lasts, I think, cost me $45 plus shipping on eBay. So yeah, if you get some older ones, they're not terribly expensive. If you want like a full set, you have to buy, like if you're buying new ones, a lot of times you have to buy them in a full set because they're only made really for factories. So people are buying like multiple sizes. Oh yeah, look how terrible that is. That's awful. Probably should peel that off. My last few pairs, I wouldn't have peeled that off because I was just flying by to see my pants. But I'm trying to do it on video now, so I actually have to be good about these things. Yeah, if you want to buy them from a factory brand new, you usually have to buy like an entire set of lasts, which obviously most people just goofing around making boots, yeah, it looks terrible, I'm gonna leave it. Most people goofing around making shoes or boots or whatever don't want an entire set, especially if you're not sure if the hobby's for you or not yet. If you're watching this video, you're obviously not sure that you can do this yet, because I'm barely sure I can do this yet. Blind leading the blind kind of situation. So don't buy a full set of lasts yet, or turn off this video because you're well beyond what I'm about to teach you. But one last, yeah, buy it for 45 bucks. You could probably always sell it back again if you decided that it's not for you, or you can sand it down and make it into a different last, or use it as some hipster decoration and put it on a podium or some shit. I don't know. They look kind of cool. People ask you and you say, yeah, one time I tried to make a pair of shoes and it didn't go so well because I followed a shitty video on YouTube. But yeah, 45 bucks. There's gonna be stuff in this video that is more expensive than this, but I'll try to explain how to get away with not using the fancy tools as well. I have bought a couple machines that are, you know, a couple $100 each, but they're definitely not necessary items. Pretty much the necessary items are going to be lasts, a couple knives. You can get away with just using a cheap utility knife with some cheap blades if you want. Obviously the leathers, those are going to scale depending on what kind of leather you want to use, and to make your shoes. I'm using some second quality leather that I bought from maverickleather.com, which is pretty cheap if you wait for some deals to roll around. I think the upper leather I'm going to be using costs like $2.95 per square foot on closeout. It's Horween leather. The actual leather is great quality. They call it second quality because there's different defects. Like the whole half hide isn't full grade A quality. There's holes, but since we're not making like, you know, anything terribly large, we can cut around the imperfections on the hide. There'll be more wasted leather than there might be if you got a perfect A quality hide, but oh well. And then yeah, different leather for like the soles and the insole, the midsole. I'm not doing an outsole of leather. I'm doing I ordered a Vibram outsole. It's like this studded Eaton Vibram outsole. It hasn't arrived yet, but it should be here by the time I get to that point in the process. And so yeah, knives, leather. We're gonna need some awls, just you know, to punch holes. Some pricking irons is probably gonna be the way that you're gonna wanna stitch the upper, unless you have like a high quality sewing machine. I have a sewing machine I'm gonna use to prick the holes, but it doesn't actually work for sewing. So that's gonna be a really janky part of this video. Just as janky as this camera angle. I think the camera is actually falling lower and lower as